Hello and welcome to Ask You for a Trend. I'm Josh Lipton, and for the next half hour, we are breaking down the trends of today that'll move stocks tomorrow. There's a lot to keep track of, so we're focusing on what you need to know to get ahead of the curve. Here are some of the trends we're going to be diving into. Trade uncertainty weighing on the markets. An appeals court reinstating Trump's tariffs in the last hour, but all major indices do end the day up. And are you ready to hit the road in a Rivian electric vehicle? Well, we're talking with the company's chief software officer to learn about the automaker's road ahead. And now that earnings reports on the major Mag 7 stocks are in the rearview mirror, we're taking a deep dive on what's next for the tech giants and your portfolio. Well, the EV space is getting a lot of attention with tax credits in jeopardy and competition heating up domestically and overseas. But the EV race isn't all about horsepower. It's about software, too. And joining us now is Wassym Bensaid, Chief Software Officer at Rivian and Yahoo Finance's Senior Autos Reporter, Praz Tumaranian. Welcome, both you guys. Wassym, I'll start with you. For the uninitiated, those who may not know, describe just a little bit about your role at the company, your role, the responsibility, your remit at Rivian.
First of all, thanks for having me today. Really excited. I lead the software team at Rivian, and my team is responsible for the entire technology stack that underpins Rivian vehicles and then the end-to-end user experience that we provide to our customers. In parallel, and then since November, I'm the co-CEO of the joint venture that we have with the VW Group, which is delivering reference platforms to Rivian, to the VW brands, and then eventually our goal is to have that for other brands as well.
You know, a lot going on there. You mentioned, software-defined vehicles, VW, right? Is that what that deal is all about? Is basically Volkswagen saying, hey, Rivian, you guys have great software. We're talking about a vehicle that they were able to update the software to make the suspension better, believe it or not. Is that what we're talking about here when we're talking about software-defined vehicles?
That's exactly it. I mean, when you look at the technology trends in automotive, technologies like electrification, autonomy, connectivity, they are resulting in much bigger amounts of software. And customers now have very high expectations in terms of the end-to-end experience. And modern architecture require a lot of software to really power and unlock that experience.
The R2 prototype, Wassym, it's on the streets.
I love it.
It's being tested. What do you love about it? Give me the feedback.
First of all, you have seen that wrap. I mean, it's so awesome.
We have it.
I think we have it here. But R2 is a program we're extremely excited about. The R2. R2 brings the essence of the Rivian brand. Great design, great interior, great drive dynamics, great technology, but then into a price point that will be accessible by a much broader set of customers. So there's no day where we don't get requests from customers, when can I get my R2? It's really the culmination of a long journey in terms of building our technology so that we can get it into a vehicle that many more customers can now access.
So talk to me about also the co-head like you mentioned, of the JV between Volkswagen and Rivian. What does that entail, and are we going to see that R2 technology kind of flow into VW vehicles, for instance?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about it as the R2 is the platform that will underpin actually all future EV products at VW. So it's really that modular, scalable technology stack that we will take into VW brands. And we will do it in a way where we will still allow each of the brands to express their own identity. Each brand will have their own UI look and feel. Each brand will have their own suspension tuning, as you mentioned. But underneath, the guts of the vehicle will be optimized based on the same technology and software architecture.
Well, there are questions out there, Wassym, about R2 scalability. Walk me through how you're thinking about that dynamic.
Scalability, you mean from which standpoint?
Well, the ability to get as many of them out there as people want.
Yes, I mean, everybody is waiting for the R2. Everybody is excited about the R2. It's the absolute number one priority for the customer. And I think what we are really excited about is when you look at from a technology standpoint, the R2 is an evolution of the architecture that we introduced with our Gen 2 vehicles. And there's a ton of lessons learned that went into how we make the R2 from a technology standpoint, from engineering, from manufacturing, and that is allowing us to really not only make progress, but we're extremely happy with the maturity of R2 compared to where R1 was at the same time from a program standpoint.
With the R2, you're going after the Model Y. So walk me through why your product is superior, Wassym. What is setting you apart?
First of all, the Model Y is a great product, and I think kudos to Tesla, who have designed and built a fantastic product. R2, as I mentioned, brings really like everything which is beautiful about the Rivian DNA, that great design, that great interior, great storage, great drive dynamics, the Rivian drive dynamics, and then all this technology content into the same price point as the Model Y.
Right, and we were talking about this before, kind of about how R2 compared to Model Y is like the iPhone of EVs, right? Whereas R2 is more of a lifestyle product. I know Josh is a big pickup guy, okay? He's a big pickup guy, so he likes lifestyle stuff. But I wanted to talk to you quickly about, we mentioned Tesla, I want to talk about, robo-taxis, that stuff is, we're talking about that previous segment, it's everywhere, right? Obviously, Rivian is working on autonomy too. Talk to us about that product and how it differs or is the same like Tesla or is kind of charting its own path when it comes to autonomy.
Yeah, this is one of the areas that we're really extremely excited about. I mean, with our Gen 2 architecture, we introduced cameras which are 55 megapixel plus in terms of sensors, 10x AI compute in the vehicle, and that allows us to now have and develop a new software stack which is end-to-end AI, and that will continue improving over time. 2 months ago, we released our first hands-free over-the-air update, and many more steps are coming towards our final goal by end of next year of having hands-free, hands-off, and then eyes-off.
And Wassym, I know you all build your vehicles here in the U.S., in Illinois, but what tariff exposure does Rivian have?
I mean, we're navigating the situation similar to other automakers. As you mentioned, we build our vehicles in Illinois, and I think really one of the advantages that Rivian has is the overall vertical integration, which allows us to navigate the situation much better than other OEMs in the sense that by having the hardware and the software together, I mean, when it comes to areas like semiconductor, for example, through our software, we can pivot and have solutions which are more beneficial for us from a tariff standpoint.
You know, you've been around the block from a tech point of view out in California, Intel for many years and things like that. What is so exciting about the Rivian opportunity that maybe people on the outside don't necessarily see?
I think it's really everything that the Rivian brand stands for. I mean, one of the things that gets me really excited in my job day to day is the type of engagement that we have with our customers and that passion around the brand. Even though I see more and more Rivians every day now, but drivers continue to wave to each other. You see that excitement. You see everyone asking when the R2 is coming. And really, I do think that the automotive industry in the United States need choice, need many more good EV products. The Rivian R1 and then most importantly the R2 are great EV products, and the market needs that.
Wassym, it was so good to have you on the show and on set today. That was great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for hosting me.
More Ask for a Trend. That's right on the other side. U.S. stocks move higher as markets assess Nvidia's earnings report as well as more tariff uncertainty. And Yahoo Finance's Jared Blickery joins us now with the trading day takeaways. Jared.
Thank you, Josh. That is my first point. After those Nvidia earnings, tariffs kind of rule, but not in a big way. In fact, we saw the major markets, they kind of gapped up on the news. This was before the latest tariff news, and then they drifted down, but still the major averages closed in the green. And this is our semiconductors board, and didn't mean to do that. Let's check out Nvidia here, closing the day up 3.25%, and that is the highest since February. Not too far off those record highs, and it's just a quick stroke to get back to those. Got a few sticking points perhaps, but the earnings catalyst in the rearview mirror. And let's just check out the NASDAQ here, because my eye has been on that. It's been kind of consolidating. This is a year to date. So we've seen breakouts in Nvidia. We've seen breakouts in a lot of stocks over the last few days, but not the major indices. And they all kind of look just like that. So maybe we need another catalyst, but even tariffs not dragging it down today.
As you said, we finished in the green today.
Yes.
Not a disaster, right?
No, and so my point is volatility is going down. It is waning here. And let's just check out the VIX real quickly. I got a lot of volatility charts, but we're only going to hit a couple here. Here is the VIX. It was down a whopping 0.13 points today. This is a year to date, so we're well off those highs, and we've kind of settled back down below the 20 level. That's important. But what I want to show you is realized volatility. That is what is actually happening in the market, rather than the VIX saying this is what we think is going to happen. Realized volatility is still pretty elevated here. So just something to consider. It is a trader's market, and still a lot of things can trip you up if you're a day trader.
What have been the plays recently?
So that is in the defensive area, and it was really interesting today because defensive sectors were doing well, and then we also have the defense and aerospace, which is completely separate, that was doing well in addition. So let's check out the sector action real quickly. And for the leaderboard, we got real estate, energy, utilities, healthcare, all of those defensive. I'll throw staples in there too. That's another defensive one. Yes, energy is defensive at times, not always, but you can put it in that basket. So there are the defense sector or defensive sectors. And here, let's check out defense, because the ITA ETF, and that covers all of this industry, has been hitting record highs. It was the least affected by the tariff tantrum 2 months ago. And a lot of these stocks, just check out GE, for instance, this has been hitting record highs day after day after day after it surpassed them in May. Those were the old records. These are the new ones. And like I said, a lot of charts look like this. So we're seeing a lot of strength in these names, even Boeing coming back recently, Josh.
Any famous lines on defense you want to leave the audience with?
Oh, there's one by Vince Lombardi. The best defense is a good offense. And so that means you can't just have a portfolio filled with dogs with fleas.
Wise words. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Coming up, more Ask for a Trend right on the other side. Take a look at what's trending after hours. Ulta Beauty delivering an earnings and revenue beat for the first quarter. Company highlighting that fiscal 2025 is off to an encouraging start with a stronger than expected performance. Ulta Beauty also boosting its earnings outlook for the full year. Zscaler reporting third quarter earnings and revenue that did beat Wall Street's expectations. Looking ahead, company is boosting its earnings guidance for the full year, topping estimates. Zscaler also appointing Kevin Rubin as its chief financial officer. Well, Nvidia is the last of the Mag 7 names reporting earnings this season. For our chart today, we're taking a closer look at big tech valuations. Yahoo Finance's Julie Hyman joins us now with a closer look.
Now with Nvidia in the books in terms of its earnings, we do see investors taking another look at Nvidia individually as well as the big tech sector collectively, as exemplified by the Magnificent Seven. And this prompted me to take a look at what we see in terms of the forward price to earnings ratios. What do valuations look like for the mega cap tech trade right now? And what's notable is that really this year we've seen Nvidia in particular come down quite a bit in terms of its valuation. That's something that a lot of investors have pointed out. And it's now sort of more comparable with its peers within the Mag 7, even though it looks like there's a lot of dispersion now, as I'll show you in a moment. There's not a lot of space in between many of the Mag 7 names. And in particular, when it comes to Nvidia, we talked to Angelo Zeno of CFRA yesterday in reaction to the Nvidia earnings, and he flagged that the valuation looks more attractive right now.
Expect anything along the lines of what we've seen here over the last 2 years. I think that's perfectly okay, because when you look at Nvidia's multiple today relative to what we've seen here in recent memory, it's nowhere near the levels that we've seen it.
So in other words, what he was saying is that even though we're not seeing the kind of magnitude of growth that we once were for Nvidia, it's still quite high, but it's not as high as it was. That's okay because you're not paying up as much for the stock. Now, just to get a little more granular here, I wanted to look at the exact numbers for this estimated PE here for these companies. Now you see Nvidia here at 31, which is pretty comparable with most of its cohort. Right now, Alphabet is priced the lowest in these terms at 18. Then you have Meta at 25, Apple 28, Microsoft 30, Nvidia 31, and Amazon. Of course, the outlier here is Tesla. That's why we didn't put it on the other chart, because it would have skewed the whole thing, because its price to earnings ratio, both on a trailing and forward basis, is much, much higher than the others. That's one of the reasons that some of the bears are not into that stock. But it is interesting to see this current landscape now that we are through the earnings season. Josh?
All right, thank you, Julie. Time now for what to watch Friday, May 30th. Going to start off on the economy. We're going to be getting some fresh inflation data in the morning with personal consumption expenditures, or PCE. Economists forecasting total and core PCE to tick up to 0.1% on a month-over-month basis. The new data suggesting that inflation is accelerating slightly and that prices are rising again after being flat in March. And sticking with economic data, the final reading for consumer sentiment is coming out in the morning, measuring how consumers feel about the economy. That number expected to rise to 51.5 compared to the prior reading, signaling a slight improvement in consumer mood, but still hovering around historically low levels. And taking a look at the Fed, we're going to be getting some more Fed commentary from San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly. This is coming after comments comments this week from another Fed President, Neil Kashkari. Kashkari suggesting that the Fed should hold interest rates steady while it awaits clarity on the tariff landscape. Well, that is a wrap on today's Ask for a Trend. Be sure to come back tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern for all of the latest market-moving stories affecting your wallet. Have a great night.